there are emails from Rod Rosenstein showing that Mueller pulled himself out of the running for FBI director on the very day he was appointed special counsel. In the May 17th, 2017 email, Rosenstein writes to then Assistant Attorney General Jody Hunt that the subject line Mueller and states, "Withdrew consideration for FBI director." Hunt responds, "Called this morning and also withdrew his name from consideration." So there were two people who were up for FBI director, both of whom withdrew their name from consideration, one of which was Robert Mueller. How is it he was not in the running or was not applying or was not up for the job? How's that consistent with his testimony? And Mueller is also implicated in a separate scandal. Judicial Watch found that just again, that he was in the running for the FBI job, despite his testimony to the contrary. You may recall that President Trump said, what's with these conflicts of interest? He actually tweeted something out. I'm going to quote the tweet. President Trump said that Mueller did indeed apply an interview for the FBI director job. It has been reported that Mueller is saying that he did not apply an interview for the job of FBI director and get turned down the day before he was wrongfully appointed special counsel. Hope he doesn't say that under oath, and that we have numerous witnesses to the interview, including the Vice President of the United States. Sure enough, there are emails from Rod Rosenstein showing that Mueller pulled himself out of the running for FBI director on the very day he was appointed special counsel. In the May 17th, 2017 email, Rosenstein writes to then Assistant Attorney General Jody Hunt that the subject line Mueller and states, "Withdrew consideration for FBI director." Hunt responds, "Called this morning and also withdrew his name from consideration." So there were two people who were up for FBI director, both of whom withdrew their name from consideration, one of which was Robert Mueller. How is it he was not in the running or was not applying or was not up for the job? How's that consistent with his testimony? And this is his testimony to Capitol Hill earlier, I guess last year now. He had testified about whether he was interviewed for the FBI director position in an exchange with Greg Steube. I think that's his name, Steube, Steube? The congressman. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mueller over here. Mr. Mueller, did you indeed interview for the FBI director job one day before you were appointed special counsel? Mueller. My understanding was I was not applying for that job. I was asked to give my input on what it would take to do the job, which triggered the interview you're talking about. So you don't recall on May 16, 2017, that you interviewed with the president regarding the FBI director job. I interviewed with the president, and it was regarding the FBI director job. It was about the job and not about me applying for the job. So your statement here today is that you didn't interview to apply for the FBI director job. That's correct. So did you tell the vice president that the FBI director position would be the one job that you would come back for or two? I don't recall that one. You don't recall that? No. So compare and contrast that testimony with this contemporaneous record by the man who would have hired him for FBI director, obviously with the acquiescence or permission of President Trump, Rod Rosenstein. The email suggests that Mueller communicated directly with Rosenstein and withdrew his name from the job. Now, these emails come as a result of a Judicial Watch email request and lawsuit about what I call the 7 days in May. Remember the old movie and book from the 60s, the liberal fantasy book where the right-wing military takes over the government? Well, we asked about those 7 days in May in 2017 when Comey was fired and the period in which his buddy McCabe, who was acting FBI director at the time, took over. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein were thinking of ways to overthrow President Trump, talking about wearing a wire in the Oval Office, talking about invoking the 25th Amendment, So we have the documents proving that all took place. We also found documents that he told Mueller, oh, the boss doesn't know I'm talking to you. Now, Rosenstein subsequently said it was the boss being Sessions, but that frankly doesn't make sense. What makes more sense, it was Trump. But the point was he was secretly talking to Mueller while he was also considering him for the FBI job. And the fact that Mueller was in the running for the FBI job, and it's pretty clear the documents show he was, and the president says he was. He did the interview. I mean, why would he go over and talk to the president about what type of person should be in the FBI job, and then the next day say, I'm taking myself out of the running? But it shows that the Mueller investigation was conceived in sin, in the sense that there was an inherent conflict of interest Mueller had. I mean, generally speaking, I think there was, because he probably hated Trump. But specifically, he was investigating how allegedly, if Comey's firing or the communications were Comey and the firing was an obstruction of justice, how could he investigate that issue if he interviewed for the very job? He would be a witness. What did you talk to the president about in terms of that FBI position being open? What did he? Did he interview himself? I mean, he was looking to get the job, it's clear. And he did have a conflict of interest. He should never have been hired. He should never have been hired. And now we know that Rosenstein evidently knew he was in the running for the FBI job, and he allowed the big lie to be out there that Mueller kept on pushing as people kept on pushing that he wasn't in the running. This is an extraordinary document in the sense that it ought to generate a criminal investigation into Mueller's testimony. Did he commit perjury? Now, I'm sure all the lawyers listening and watching are going to look at that testimony and say, well, I don't think he lied. He talked around the issue. Well, that's for the jury to decide, isn't it, in some ways? Again, if it were anyone else, would there be a question it was perjury? If it were a Trump team member, would it be a question it was perjury? So you've got the Mueller operation erasing evidence accidentally, as I like to say, accidentally on purpose. But of course, we won't know that unless there's a criminal investigation and these people are hauled before a grand jury or something substantial. We've got the missing 302 related to General Flynn. What about these emails that were deleted? Does that mean the emails that were deleted or texts that were deleted, assuming there were texts on it, was any of that about General Flynn? Is Judge Sullivan going to start asking questions about this? I doubt it. He's out to get General Flynn. Now Congress is demanding answers. Now it's 2 months before an election. How do you think that's going to go? How do you think that's going to go?
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.